boy Broken Bobby on a rare Saturday night live. Hope everybody is doing well. I'll give it a minute or two, see if we can get a few folks in here, and then we'll talk. Be a part of the conversation. So yeah, it's a rare Saturday live. I did not work tonight, but here we are. So I feel like that's too far away. What's up, Taft Woods? Sorry, I'm trying to get situated here. Yeah, I know it's a Saturday live, right? Yeah, I didn't have to work tonight, so took care of some business earlier. I figured I'd get on, see what everybody's up to. It's been a while since we've done a Saturday. So, how you doing, bro? You good? I'm free streaming the UFC. The main event is about to start. I'll tune back in. I got you, bro. Sounds good. Enjoy it. Yes, sir. I'm still sober as a judge. That's what's up, bro. Hell yeah. That's what it is, you know. Yeah, I should be on for probably about an hour or so tonight. I'll probably be on a couple times this weekend. Not Judge Munch from Kern County. I hear you. I hear you. So tonight we're going to talk about courage. We'll give it a minute. Let a few folks get in here, and then some of these principles that are important with recovery, right? Last week we talked about honesty and integrity, and this week we're going to talk about courage, because it takes courage to get sober. It's not just something you do. Courage to accept the things you cannot change. There it is there. Straight from the gospel. Damn. Got to get my boats and hoes. What's up? So, yeah, it's Saturday night. Yeah, let's hear your joke, Mark. Yeah, it didn't work tonight. It's been raining like crazy here in SoCal. Classic movie.
Hey, you want a fresh pot of coffee?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, though. A conspiracy theorist walks into a bar. That can't be a coincidence, can it? Yeah, not a whole lot. We're talking about sobriety and all that good stuff. It says Nia sent 100. Thank you. I appreciate that. Taft would send 100. I'm not sure what that is, but thank you guys. I truly appreciate that. We up in Central. We flooded over here. Need a boat to get to the gas station. Damn. Yeah, it's been raining down here like since early this morning. I'm in the high desert of California, though, and maybe those are height points or something. I don't know. I've been seeing height points on people's videos lately. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, thank you. I do appreciate it. Where was I going? Oh, I already. Yeah. Okay. So, where was I? Okay, we were talking about the rain, and yeah, it's not too bad up here in the high desert. Although whenever it rains in the high desert, the streets always flood. It don't take a whole lot up here. Drainage system sucks, if there even is one. You know, they get a lot more down uh, when you get down into San Bernardino, Rialto, Fontana, those areas. And they were calling for like 2 inches of rain in Rialto today, which is where I work. And I was kind of glad to not have to work just for that simple reason. It was raining last night. And with the job that I do, I'm outside a lot. So, you guys flood crazy. Yeah, quarter quarter an hour for a day, and you guys. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh man, we get like a half an inch, and like there's standing water everywhere. Like it's crazy. When that little tropical storm happened, I think it was last year. Like my whole front yard was a pool, basically. What's up, Blackbird? He says, hello, we talking about weather? Damn, I got snow. Right? I hear you. And I know a lot of the country's been hammered with snow and wind and stuff, and this rain seems kind of trivial, but when we don't get a lot of it, I think LA is more at risk because they're talking about like 5 to 6 inches of rain. Looks like Stormy wants to come be a part of the show. Say hi to the people. All right, no, you got to get down because you're wet. Go on. Go on. But with those areas that burned, like that stuff is bad. Mudslides and stuff, like that could be really bad. What is that saying? Thank you for that heart or whatever that was. I appreciate it. I'm really illiterate when it comes to these things, but thank you. If get rerouted and told not to come to that location when it was starting to rain, getting stuck out there trying to get back down into the valley. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was Mars Queen. What's up, Mars Queen? I haven't seen you on here in quite a while. How you doing? Thank you for the floating heart. Blackbird says, I'm suffering in Russia and 10 feet. Holy shit, that's crazy. Taft is like that. Never rains, but when it can be all bad. Yeah, that's the way the high desert is, man. It is just crazy. Yeah, I think cat liquor is. What's up, Cora? Welcome in. We could use a moderator right now. It seems like we just got one weirdo in here right now, the cat liquor. But yeah, I don't know what would possess somebody to go on a live stream and ask a question like that. Like, I don't know. That's weird, but there's weird people out there, So, yeah, the topic of the night is courage, right? So, in making the decision to get sober, that takes courage right off the bat, right? We are creatures of habit. So, what's up, Monk? Welcome in, brother. How you doing? Talking about courage tonight. And yeah, like it takes courage to start with sobriety, right? I'm good. Thank you. How is the wife and grandchildren? I hope we're all doing well, Mars Queen. I appreciate it. Yeah, they can't complain, Not like anybody listening anyways, but what's up, Josh? Welcome in. What's your story? Let's hear some good memories throughout the years. Well, I was a drug addict, Blake. I also dealt with alcoholism and hey, happy belated birthday, Monk. 55. Wow. I didn't picture you a day over 30, brother. But But yeah, I was addicted to meth. I got clean in 2004. And now I'm just kind of spreading the message of sobriety, and that if somebody like me could do it, you can do it too, you know? So welcome to the channel. Why don't you have the courage to make your lazy ass not fat? Very courageous to sit there on your ass smoking. Yeah, it is, Cody. And, you know, if you don't like it, there's plenty of other places you can go, bruh. So take that and smoke it. What's up, Alan? Chap Laundry says, hey, I'm back. Hey, welcome back, brother. Brave is what you are when courage is what you have. Absolutely. Hey, what's up, John? How you doing? It has been a while, hasn't it, bro? That's right, Matt. What's up, Pumpkelton is the best. Well, happy belated birthday, Mars Queen. I am Izzy, and it's nice to meet you. Well, welcome in, Izzy. Be a part of the conversation, bro. We're talking about courage and the courage to find sobriety and maintain sobriety, you know? When, you know, like I said, we're creatures of habit, right? So whatever it is that we've been doing is what we tend to keep doing, right? So, you know, if you've been struggling with addiction, then, you know, it's what you've been doing, right? And not to mention the addictive properties of whatever it is you're addicted to. But, you know, it takes courage to step out of your comfort zone and try something new, you know, even though you know that it will probably be, well, it will be better for you, you know, mentally, physically, the whole nine, for the family life, everything, right? But we like to do what we've been doing. So that's where the courage part comes in, right? Like you got to be brave, like Monk said, you know. Okay, cool. Sounds good, Cora. Just takes one mistake. So big ups. I appreciate you, Blake. Yeah, it can be work sometimes, you know, but once you get them wheels rolling and you set the right boundaries with folks, or cut folks off that don't respect the boundaries, then it gets a lot easier. You know what I mean? Sunset Bunny, why are you broken? I was addicted to methamphetamines. That's where the broken Bobby comes in, but it's broken Bobby's transformation, and I transformed into a sober, hardworking dude that puts my family first, you know? So it's broken Bobby's transformation. Thank you. John says, I had a heart attack 3 weeks ago and I'm all better now. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're better, John. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. Glad you're spending some time with us tonight. I appreciate that. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, tell a kill. I appreciate that. As my respect, he walks 18 miles a day to collect the church dollars box. Stop Believing is a good song. Nothing scarier than walking into a meeting alone. Yeah. You know, and when I first started going to meetings, man, that took courage. I mean, the fact that I was on a court card through the county really helped. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you know, those court cards are what, if you don't know what a court card is, guys, it's basically it's a piece of paper with a bunch of lines on it, and you give it to the secretary of the meeting, and once the meeting's over, they give you the court card back with a signature on it, and then you present that to the judge. And you have to get so many meetings in so many days, depending on what they have you on, you know. So that court card really saved my life, you know. I've never freebased cocaine, hexosi. My drug of choice was methamphetamine. Oh, that's good, Josh. What's up, Akko? What's the difference between a hardworking dude and a hardworking believer? Is there a difference? I don't know. I mean, I guess one is faith-based, right? Rory says, "Do you support LGBTQ?" I support everybody that I support everybody basically. If you're looking to get clean and change your life, then I absolutely support you. There's no boundaries in that. What's up, David Price? Shout out to Australia. 30 meetings in 30 days, right, Monk? Yep. I freeloaded cocaine, says Monk, right? That used to be the joke at the meetings. What's your drug of choice? Your drug is my drug of choice. What do you got? I mean, obviously they weren't doing drugs at the meetings, but poly drug user type of thing, I guess, like whatever you have that will change my give me a mind change. Yeah, I like that one too, so I tried powder. I didn't like it though, David Price says, was it drugs that sent you to prison, trafficking or stealing, nothing, robbing to get the money? Yeah, a little bit of all that, to be honest with you, David. I was, they don't necessarily call it trafficking in California. I was possession for sales, and then a couple of probation violations ultimately landed me in prison. Now, I was doing some other things too. I was doing empty envelope deposits on the ATMs, and yeah, I'm doing well, bro. Toronto, shout out, appreciate you tapping in. What's up, Captain Hook? I'm new to this, and I'm going to tell you this: never give up, and don't let people stop you doing what you want to be. I agree, Josh. Absolutely. Hope you're doing well. Oh my God, Big E's in the house. What is up, brother? Time to watch and engage. Leave a like to support, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, Cora. Yeah, be sure to subscribe if you are new. What is up, Tim? How you doing, brother? It's been a while. Hit that like button, subscribe, and definitely be a part of the conversation. That was a little sus, wasn't it, Cora? I went to some NEA meetings, nothing excluded anonymous. It's all basically a free-for-all support group for people in need of it. Oh, that's cool, bro. NEA, I never heard of that. What's probation like? I hear it's really tough. You can't even have a beer after work. Now, I think that all depends on the circumstances of your probation, David. I had a cousin who I think it was called a 2B clause on his probation where he couldn't consume alcohol at all. Now, I didn't have that because my crimes weren't necessarily alcohol related, but I did have to drug test, and I was on a call-in thing where, basically you call in every day and they would give a color, right? Like today's color is red. If you are if you've been assigned red, then when red hits, that means you need to get down to the probation office and test. Like it wasn't just a once monthly thing. And now keep in mind, at one point I was on probation in 3 different counties, so they weren't all doing exactly the same thing. Hey, thanks Nitro Bob for that 100. I appreciate you, bro. All 3 counties didn't do it exactly the same way, but it was really hard to maintain a job while being on call for a drug test and not even stop that. Stop. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to put the dog inside real quick. Come on. Come on. Go. He needs to stay inside. He's out there chewing bottles and shit. So, yeah, Pardon the interruption. Yeah, the dog was chewing on a water bottle that was driving me crazy. But yeah, like, so there was definitely difficulties to that. And ultimately, I asked to go to prison rather than remain on probation, which some people think is crazy, but it just made it easier for me to get my life right, you know? Uh, whoa, easy there, Biggie, easy. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. I went to prison in SRCI. What's that? What's SRCI? Be nice to Bobby, and I'll be nice to you. Nitro Bob says, Bobby, what is up, Nitro Bob? I've been free for 25 years, says Damon. That's right. And that's good, bro. Congratulations on that. I don't know if you're talking about free from incarceration or addiction or maybe both. My freedom from addiction kind of came with my freedom from incarceration, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I understand that. So I have got hurt really bad and I had to go to the hospital. I'm sorry to hear that, bro. Little power hype chihuahua, says Cora about E. Oh, Snake River Correctional. What is that, Idaho? At first, it sounds crazy, but after hearing some stories of what it's like on probation, it kind of makes sense. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of times, probation is given to give you a chance to change your behavior so that you don't end up in prison. And like I said, the thing is, a lot of people, we just like to be on cruise control, right? We do what we do. I did what I did, you know what I mean? And I didn't see nothing wrong with it in the moment. So when probation came in and, said, hey, Bobby, you need to change this, and this, it's like, okay, if you say so, so it made it harder on myself. When I was on parole, funny thing is, when I was on parole, my parole officer was Rapizzi out of San Bernardino. And when I first met this dude and went in his office, there was a white T-shirt hanging on the wall, and somebody had made that T-shirt for him, and it said, "I survived Rapizzi," which meant they survived being on parole with this guy. You know what I mean? And when I would tell people, like in the neighborhood and stuff, yeah, I got Rapizzi, the typical response was, "Ooh, bro, like that's rough," because he was, from looking at it from his perspective, he was with the business when it came to his job. You know what I mean? If you were fucking around and you were doing stuff you weren't supposed to be doing, he would be on you. I gave a bad address. My wife and her family had moved, and I didn't update the address. They were out doing parole checks. Guess what? I wasn't there. Nobody there knew who I was. So when I went into the office to check in, do my monthly drug test or whatever, I got handcuffed to his chair and he said, I'm taking you to Chino at the end of the day. And he let me sit there for like 8 hours sweating, you know what I mean? Like, damn, like I'm trying to do right, but I was still mustering up the courage to make the changes I needed to, right? So, yeah, like I think a lot of times with probation and parole, we make it more difficult than it needs to be as the probationer or the parolee, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all probation or parole officers are necessarily trying to make a difference in people's lives and help them. Some of them have been dealing with the criminal aspect so long they've just given up, right? And they're like, "Fuck this dude. He's gonna violate anyways." You know what I mean? And they don't care. But I ended up having a great relationship with that PO. Like I went to school, I went to rehab, I did all the things I was supposed to do, and I flourished, you know. Got hurt really bad, and I had to go to the hospital for stitches on my feet. Ooh, wow, that sucks, Josh. Not a whole lot, Martin. How you doing tonight, brother? Damon says Oregon. It's not power. I just don't like. Okay. Thanks for the high five, Emmanuel. I appreciate that. Yeah, it looks like it quieted down, huh? A little bit. That's all right. Because you're scaring people away, E, says Cora. I wonder where G's at tonight. Did he get locked up again? He was acting wild last weekend. I had to time G out because he was getting a little out of pocket with some people. That is coffee, Nitro Bob. So, the general idea of the chat is if you guys want to troll on each other and bag on each other and you guys are okay with that, that's cool. But if I tell you that not to do that to someone in particular, if someone's got a channel, that they have, and I acknowledge that, then we need to be respectful of that because, G was real out of pocket last week. Did you ever check out that YouTube channel? I checked out Taftwoods, yes, absolutely. And you guys should go check out Taftwood. Hey, I appreciate you too, Nitro Bob. And the other one was Solid Behind Blue Eyes. I've been following Solid for a while now. You guys should go over and check that. That channel has to do with prison reform and some of the injustices that are happening to people that are incarcerated. So if that's something that's in your wheelhouse, definitely go check that out as well. Give them a follow or a subscribe. I'll be honest with you. I used to watch a bunch of different YouTube channels. Some of this shit's getting hard to watch at this point. Like some of these guys regurgitating stories and shit. I want you to check out this YouTube channel called Times. That's right. You told me about that. No, I did not check that one out yet. When I get ready to wrap up, put it in the chat one more time for me, and I'll check it out as soon as I get off here. All right. Help them with money. People who are about to begin their first time out of prison. That sounds like a good cause, bro. Sounds like a real good cause. Because I'll be honest, when you parole, if you don't have a safe place to go, it's very difficult to succeed, And, like in California, they give you $200 gate money. Basically, it's $200 in, I think it was in cash. No, it was in cash. They gave me $200 in cash. Now, keep in mind, this was 2006. It's 20 years ago. But they give you $200 in cash. That's to get you started, right? Think about it. That wasn't 06, and that money was gone in like 2 days. You know what I mean? Like just getting a few things that I needed. Not, that's not going to get you housing or anything. I'm sure you can get vouchers and stuff from the parole office, but you can get bus passes. There's a lot of programs for stuff. But, yeah, like, I think there should be more programs that help people to get on their feet, especially the guys that did a long time. Regardless if you did 2 years or you did 35 years, your chances are you're starting over unless you have a strong support group on the street of family or maybe significant other, children, whatever it may be, So, yeah, it's definitely, it can be a difficult transition, But I think you have to just remind yourself in coming out that my worst day out here is a lot better than my best day was in there. So I'll just say that, Let's see. Oops. I'm talking about this. Yeah. Just remind me of that, Biggie. Are you growing up? Yeah, a little bit. Little bit. Geez, I keep my bad on the phone keeping dropping there. Broken people are exactly who God chooses to use. Only you have to be willing to accept him. Absolutely. You wish. I agree. Appreciate you, Josh. David Price says, do the AB really control all the whites do inside? Did you ever have any interaction with them? I never had any interaction with them when I was in. At that time, Peni was running the yards, but they may or may not have been the foot soldiers for the AB. I don't really get into the prison gang stuff, but allegedly that's what it was. I mean, yeah, I never had any direct interaction with them though. Out on the milestone, the channel hit, and I missed G being bad. Dang, it's all right, Big E. Yeah, and I want to thank everybody for subscribing. We just hit 3,000 subs last week, so shout out to you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, G was on one. Hold on just a second. Bang, bang. What's up, A. Robertson? Maybe we'll get into the story of G a little bit later, Big E. Can get by while in prison without having to get involved in gang politics. You can absolutely not get into gang politics, and if you're going to prison, I suggest you don't. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, times have changed in the penal system in California. In my time, though, basically you were going to click up. That doesn't make you a prison gang member, though. There's a big difference there. But you were definitely going to click up with your race, because at that time there was a lot of unrest between the races, let's just say. And if basically, in a nutshell, as a white guy in prison at that time, or even in the county jail, if I didn't feel like you would do your best to protect me in the event of something happening where I'm getting jumped by another race, then I didn't want you around me. Plain and simple. And I told a story about that. It's called Woods Getting Taxed in LA County. Go check that one out. That's one of my older ones. But yeah, check that out. That kind of gives you a rundown of what I mean by that. But actually in the politics, no, you don't have to be. Now you can choose to be, but that's a dangerous game to play, I'll tell you. So that's a good question, though. I did time G out last week. Yes, I am in 5th grade in school, and I feel alone. But talking to you make me. Are you really? You're a 5th grader? See, I wish I could go back and watch the live and be able to see the. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think you can see the chat, right? Yeah, he was disrespecting some people that aren't disrespectful in the chat. And one of the channels that I've been following with and I support, and they support me as well. And I told him to knock his shit off, and he continued. Thank you, Mars Queen. I appreciate that. And he was continuing on and on, being very disrespectful. And finally, I said, you know what? That's enough. So I gave him like a 5-minute timeout. He came back in, still running his mouth, and he got another timeout. he almost got he almost got caught up in the 3 strikes rule and got a life sentence. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's being an asshole. What's up, Lenny Williams? How you doing? It's been a while, hasn't it? I'm doing all right, brother. I hope you're doing well also. Thank you for the 100, Mars Queen. Is that height points or something? All right, Josh, you're starting to get kind of weird, bro. Talking about being in the 5th grade and now talking about beating on a girl. I don't know, bro. I'm not sure about you. After you got out of the job, did you have after you got out of the pen, rather, excuse me, did you have a job lined up? I did not have one immediately coming out, and I took what I could get. My first job. Hey, thank you, David Price. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that super chat. That is awesome. Were you allowed to talk to black or northern Mexicans inside, or is even talking a no? As far as the southern Mexicans, I had good relations with a lot of them. When I was on the lower yards, it was pretty chill as far as that goes. Like you could talk, but it was like kind of in passing for the most part. With the southern, with the homies, the southern Mexicans, the Sureños, yeah, absolutely. I've worked out with those guys sometimes. Um, but now, don't get it twisted. If there were tension between the races, then all that stuff stopped. You know, and although we were kind of, I don't want to say we were allies, but we got along pretty well. But at times shit happens. You know what I mean? And you could go to war with allies even, and it happened. So uh, one of the during those times, the thing is, like, you gotta keep people an arm's length away, basically. Uh, in a nutshell, you know what I mean? Because you know people get hurt in there, so you just gotta be careful, But yeah, here nowadays, everybody's programming together. Uh, yeah, jobs were really hard to come by, Lonnie. My first job, I was a Liberty for Liberty Tax, standing on the corner waving a sign. And that was very humbling. And that took a lot of courage, going back to the keyword of the night, on my part to do, because I felt like that job was beneath me. But, the landlord liked the money, you know what I mean? So, uh, you got to do it. That's right. Big E says, David Price, thanks for the big $15. Appreciate you, David Price. Jules' gifts are like money, not okay. Cool. Thank you, Mars Queen, for helping me figure that out. I don't know. Uh, what's that Wood's name that worked out all the time? Cycle. I'm not sure who you're talking about. But when I was in there, I was a workout machine myself. I was either reading a book, working out, or like when I was on the lower yards, I was kind of in the mix in the politics, but the politics aren't that heavy on those yards. Um, you know, um, I'll just leave it at that, I guess. But uh, I, yeah, like once I hit the 3 yard and I went to AdSeg, I was in way over my head. Like every level you go up, it's like 100 times more difficult. You know what I mean? And I just watched Shot Caller the other day. This is like a behind the scenes commentary. That's a good movie, actually. I enjoy that one. That's some of the realest stuff I think I've seen in a movie. So yeah. The gang leader that worked out. Are we talking about from the movie? What was AdSeg like? Uh, okay, so when I went to AdSeg, it was at Delano, and basically it was AdSeg overflow because there had been a riot in that prison between The story you've ever experienced while being locked up. Okay, give me a minute and I'll get to that, all right? Okay, Big E, I appreciate you, bro. So, as far as that say goes, was shot caller accurate? Was and what was and wasn't real in the movie? Shot caller is one of the most accurate movies I've seen as far as that goes. Like the AdSeg yard where they stabbed the little homie that was talking shit to the dude. That's pretty spot on as far as that goes. The little concrete yard, um, you know, and that's where AdSeg is where that's where the big boys play. AdSeg in the shoe in those times. Um, you know, you get back there like you're around a bunch of real motherfuckers. You know, not to say that you know on the yard, you know, there's real motherfuckers out there too, right? Biggest guy I seen in the pen, white guy. Uh, there was a redwood. I don't remember where he was from, but yeah, dude was probably about 6'6", 300 ish, and yeah, that was a big dude right there. That's probably the biggest white guy I ever seen. Gotta get you a tobacco pipe. Way better than Siggy's, my friend. What's up, Tiger Boy? How you doing, bro? It's been a while. Uh, yeah, I think Shot Caller is probably the most accurate movie I've seen, especially pertaining to the whites. When dude hits the yard and Bottles gives him the rundown, that no, he was not a shot caller, not there, anyways. Um, yeah, when Bottles gives him the rundown when he first hits the yard, like that's the realest shit. Like you will get your hands dirty, uh, type of shit. You know, like you will put in work, and yeah, like that's some real like that was the level 3 AdSeg type experience. I never seen a 4 yard, so I can't even speak on that. But my craziest prison experience. Uh, there were a few. There were a few. The craziest thing I think I ever seen. There was a young Southsider. I was in Delano in reception, and a young Southsider came. He got rolled up out of another building, which basically means they beat him up and sent him on his way. Uh, and he rolled up there, and a kite followed him pretty quickly. A kite is like a prison note that gets passed. And somebody had called this youngster. He's like 19 years old. The little kid was scared, you know. But you know, when you align yourself with these groups, like you have to play by their rules. Their rules are way more important than the institution's rules. So, anyways, long story short, though, somebody had called him like a punk or a bitch or something. One of those taboo names that you're not supposed to use, and he didn't do nothing about it. So his people beat him up and sent him on his way. And when he tried to stay GP and ended up in our building, and they sent a couple guys and they poked him up pretty badly. And that happened I was in pretty close proximity to that when it happened. I didn't get a heads up or anything from anybody. Yeah, they probably stabbed him about 50 times. I don't know if the kid lived or not, to be honest with you. But that's the reality of prison, you know? You know, if you don't want to deal with that type of shit, then have the courage to change your life if you're dealing with addiction. You know what I mean? Blood In, Blood Out, that's a great movie. Yes, sir. Let me see. How Beast was talking to money, was that accurate when it comes to the Shot Caller movie? To be honest with you, Lonnie, I can't really speak on that because I've never really been in a role that prolific. You know what I mean? Like these guys were alleged Aryan Brotherhoods. So how they speak to one another, I can't call that. You know what I mean? You know, all the stuff that is alleged, it seems like it would be accurate. You know what I mean? But I've heard stories of like those guys were in the shoe when they were in those dog cages, those walk alone cages. That is accurate. They turned AdSeg into those walk alone cages after the concrete yards. That was probably right around the time I was doing my time or shortly after. It went from the concrete yard to the walk alones. But I'll tell you what, when I was in AdSeg, like, yeah, when he says all the woods and the Southern Hispanics, 500 burpee Navy SEALs, that's real shit. I've been a part of that. Not in a walk alone cage though. On a concrete yard. I didn't really know him like that, Lonnie. He seemed like a pretty serious dude. He definitely had been around. Yeah, I'm not sure if he did or not, Cora, but yeah. Yeah, right, David? Man, UFC main event is trash. Damn, Tapwood. Have you ever had trouble with your Sally? How do you pee and poop in front of someone and remain respectful? If you're in cell living, typically the toilet and the sink is at the front of the cell. Then you have the bunk beds back behind it. We'll make privacy curtains out of like state sheets and stuff, uh, so that like basically the best way to describe it is if you're pooping, if you drop one, you flush one, right? You give a courtesy flush to uh, make it not as bad. You know what I mean? If you're in dorm living, that's a whole different story. But as far as that goes, yeah, yeah. Taftwood was in the shoe, definitely very militant. Yeah, the shoe is like a whole nother experience from AdSeg, from what I hear. AdSeg's as far as I made it. I just thank God I had a 2 year sentence and not a 10 year sentence because I was heading in the wrong direction for sure in there. And luckily, I was able to make it out. You did talk to. Um, Ever had numbers flushes? Is that where like you only get like 2 flushes an hour or something? I've heard about that. And as far as shot callers I did talk to, I'd rather not speak on that because I don't know where those guys are in life, and it's not my place to put those names out there, Lonnie. With all due respect, I was part of a few riots, Lonnie. Uh, my welcome to prison. First time I walked out on a prison yard, it kicked off 10 minutes later with the blacks. So, uh, yeah, had really didn't have much of an idea of what was coming. I walked out on the yard. Somebody said, "You ready? We're about to kick it off," and boom, tear gas flying, and oh my lord, 3 flushes. Yeah. So that was my first one. Then they sent me to a community correctional facility. I was there about maybe 30 minutes before that one kicked off. And I wasn't running around causing trouble, guys. Like, I don't want it to seem like, super convict here or nothing. It wasn't that. It's just when your people are ready to ride, it's time to ride. You know what I mean? So, what was a SWAT team raid like moment to moment? Um, I when stuff like that happens, like when your house gets raided, whether it be the SWAT team or whoever, that stuff happens so quickly. By the time you realize what's going on, you're usually face down on the floor, and you know if you're lucky, it's not your actual residence, it's somewhere else. You know what I mean? Uh, it's been it's been pretty steady raining all day, Tiger Boy. I'm in the high desert, so for us, a lot of rain is a half inch to an inch. I hear down in the valley they're getting inches of rain, and there's the roads are having some issues. Going Pass is bad tonight. They're saying so. Being in prison helped you in the end. Is that what made you turn it around? Like, I don't want to be here. Definitely a big part of it, David. Definitely a big part of it. Missing special occasions with the family really hurt me a lot. Um, I feel like for the most part, I don't want to say I thrived in prison, but I knew how to do time, Like I wasn't the toughest guy by any means. I wasn't the guy that was calling all the shots and stuff. Maybe on the level 1 yard or the level 2 yard, I was in the circle. You know what I mean? But when I got to the 3 yard and just a lot of the experience that happened along the way in prison, and it wasn't, I was in there for like 16 months. I mean, that's not very long in the grand scheme of things. But I just got tired of missing stuff, and uh, I wanted to see my kids grow up, right? Not through pictures. I had Sally's that would get all excited when they got pictures from home. Oh, look, it's my boy's 12th birthday. I've only been there for two of them, and like I feel I would hear them say that, and I felt sorry for these dudes. Like I didn't want to be that guy that is living through pictures. Like I want to be there. I want to be able to give them a hug, tell them I'm proud of them in person, not in a letter. And not you know watch the CO as its mail call, hoping that you're going to get a letter. Like it's a sad life. So yeah, that was definitely a big part of it, and I got tired, bro. I agree with you. I watched the movie 2 times, and the second time I got goosebumps. Tapwood says, worst ride I was ever in was in Kern County Jail, Woods versus Serranos. Yeah, when the Woods and Serranos kick it off, it's usually rocking pretty good. And to be honest with you, a lot of times we don't have the numbers in those situations. I mean, in my opinion, the Woods definitely make the best weapons, but when you're outnumbered 4 or 5 to 1, it's tough. And a lot of times that's the case. And then the Pisces would tend to jump with the Sureños, so maybe the 3 to 1 becomes 5 to 1, and it's like you just do your best to stay on your feet, basically. Yeah, it's all over the place in there, Lonnie. All because the skinheads were being yeah, that they can be hard headed at times, right? Lonnie says, I didn't mean to ask intrusive questions about shot callers' names. I remember you talking about a buff white man putting you on game. Oh, yeah. No, I hear you, bro. And, the thing is, as long as I'm comfortable talking about it, I'll definitely say stuff. Because I'm removed from that world now. That's why I don't really generally put names out there. Like, there's some YouTube channels where, they'll tell you everything you need to know about a guy, but I'm not a part of that world no more, and I don't know where these people are at in life, if they're still GP, if they've gone PC, or if they're even alive for that matter. You know what I mean? So I try to keep it as respectful as I can. But Oh, the one that put me on game, that was Pig from it was either San Fernando or San Gabriel Valley. That was in LA County. That was a good dude. And he was not a shot caller, but he had been around the block more times than you could count. You know what I mean? Like you could. He talked about DVI Tracy and Chino and like a lot of those OG penitentiaries. Like he really put me up on game. What's up, Noah? Shout out to Iran. Do you have Febreze in yourself or whenever someone Febreze is not a thing in there, Ezekiel. But it's funny you mentioned that because I think people in the free world tend to take it for granted that all the things that we have access to. Febreze in jail, I'll tell you what Febreze in jail is, bro. You get a sock and you crush up some soap. And then I don't know how they would do it. Maybe you poke some holes in the bottom of the sock and then you swing that thing around and it freshens the air. So yeah, I mean, I guess jailhouse Febreze, but like if you were smoking in the cell or something, you would do that to try to lower the chance of the COs smelling that stuff. To be involved in any riots or bad stuff with the grouping of races because you just want to do your time and go home. Yeah, that's tough. The thing about prison is prison's such a violent place, especially when you get to those higher yards. Like and I'm speaking from my time because things have changed a lot in there from what I hear. But like you gotta ride with your collective basically. Back then, they would say you could go to the PC yard and do your time, but then you have gangs on that side too. So ultimately, it would always crack me up that someone would drop out of their gang on the general population yard and then they go over to the protective custody yard and they join another gang. Right? So I mean that's just prison though. There's safety in numbers, And whether you like it or not, chances are you're going to get into a violent encounter at some point. When you grow accustomed to the inside, you feel like you have all you need in there besides yeah, absolutely. Well, I've told the story several times about my cellie. It's canteen day. He's got all this canteen on his bed, and he bought a paper of dope. And he looks at me and he goes, Bobby, does it get any better than this? And once again, I felt sorry for this man because I'm like, does it get any better than this? Fuck yeah, it gets better than this. How about I can walk to the liquor store and buy a pack of smokes or give my wife a hug or my kids a hug? You know what I mean? Like, does it get any better than this shit? Come on, man. Sober and free now. Hey, thank you, David. I really appreciate you, bro. Have a police officer slap you around. Do you have a police officer slap you around for no reason? I can't say I've been abused by the police in the past, but I wouldn't necessarily say for no reason. I have a lot of respect for most police officers these days, the ones that are out there trying to fight the good fight. But I've been touched up by a few in the past. But a lot of that was due to my actions, Woods versus Southerners. I thought you were like teammates. Yeah, and you know what? But I get that. Like it sounds like that was just a bad situation you got it into there, Tapwood. But sometimes I've been in situations where we're outnumbered 5-1 and we kicked it off, just because like Tapwood will understand this, but maybe if you've never been locked up, there's very few things that you truly have in there, and your respect is one of them. If someone is disrespecting you, then you do what you have to, even if it means you're going to get smashed or wrecked. You know, we kicked it off in LA County. There were 9 of us against 45, and we kicked it off. And for the most part, we knew how it was going to end. You know, but you know, if you don't have your pride, you don't have anything. You know, in there. So I get it. What kind of weapons did the Woods make that was so good? From what I seen, mostly in prison, when it comes to finding a piece of metal and making it very sharp and dangerous, the woodpile had that unlocked. I was never part of making weapons or anything. I never carried a weapon, for the most part, you know. But yeah, like and several uh, there's a channel called That Prison Guard, Hector Bravo. He was a CO on level 4s, and he always talks about that too. How the woodpile was the best at making the pieces, you know. So okay, David Price says, "Did you use in prison? Was it easy to get heroin or meth inside?" Uh, it was very easy to get a hold of, but it's very expensive. Well, I don't want to say very easy, but it was around, right? And when I was on the lower level yards, like I would get it kicked my way just because I was like part of the inner circle uh, in the places that I was. But like when I seen what $50 buys, there was no way in hell I was using in there because I wasn't going to rely on my family to, um, you know what I mean? I wasn't going to be calling them and making excuses trying to get money. You know what I mean? Taffwood says, I made my own air freshener. You could buy Black Ice Christmas tree freshener. I would cut it up, put it in a water bottle. Yes. Could you have died cooking meth? Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell a story about that. Not about dying cooking meth, Lonnie, but it's called We Almost Blew Up the Garage. San Bernardino story. Uh, you should check that out. Uh, no, you know what? It's life in there, David, as far as all those things you said. Absolutely, Lonnie. Absolutely. It was definitely making me more tolerant. In fact, when we finished a batch, I remember trying some and thinking, man, this shit sucks. But we had just spent hours in the garage cooking that stuff, not wearing any suits or anything. And I was so amped that nothing you could do would get me more amped. And I just didn't realize it. Then when somebody came by to get some, like they were like, holy shit, this stuff is good, you know? So there's plenty of, just feels like shit, right? Hey, take it easy, Tiger Boy. I appreciate you tapping in. It's dying and I'm not home yet. I'm sorry. I have to go. Love you too, Cora. Thank you. Was the shot calling in LA County a stand-up guy? The only shot caller that I recall was that's that story about the riot in LA County. And that was an NLR dude that had the keys. Him and there was a big ass skinhead, but the NLR dude had the dorm, and he was a very stand up guy. In fact, after he was getting jumped on by a bunch of people, and I kind of came to his aid and got some off. And like maybe a week later, I was over in Min Central. This happened in Wayside, and this dude popped up. He come walking down the tier, and I'm like, holy shit, where'd you come from? And he told all the woods on the tier, which there was like 4 of us. They said, hey, this guy's Bobby right here. This is a stand-up dude. If he needs anything, make sure he gets it. And I was like, oh shit, okay, cool, you know. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody does. I I enjoy his content. Uh, he's dude's kind of different, but it's a different perspective for sure. You know, just look at Cobain. I just woke up with a always troll and say I knew him personally, right? The prison guard knew white prisoners were the most violent. I have two pieces: a bone crusher in the cell and a floater, a plastic piece I could get out to the yard through the metal detectors. Yep. Go to medical without your piece on you. I am a truck driver, Lonnie. No, he was not. He was oh, Redwood. I ran across Redwood in reception in Delano. Uh the skinhead in LA County. Um I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but I believe he was from San Fernando. He was a big dude too, though. He was probably 6'3", about 250, which was good because we were outnumbered 5-1 and we needed some hitters. David says, okay, how ridiculous is Wes Watson? How far would walking around shirtless on steroids and shouting like an asshole get you in prison? Um, it will get you nowhere. You know, it would get you absolutely nowhere. When I was doing time in California prison, respect was first and foremost. So acting like all belligerent and loud and shit, he probably would have got stabbed in a couple days on a mainline yard, in my opinion. Um, you know, everything it's all respect until it's not. I'll just say that. Even with people with uh, perceived enemies, right? Enemy groups. You are very respectful. You do not want to be the reason something kicks off unless there's a good reason for that, you know? So the way he acts and his over the top behavior, it's a show for YouTube basically. He created a character, in my opinion, that people perceive as this white gangster guy, right? And he made a lot of money with it, you know. More power to the guy. But you know, with the last stuff I seen on him was the body cam footage from the cops in Florida after they had jumped that dude in the gym, and like he's talking way too much. Like he don't even listening to him talk. Convict is not a word that comes to mind, in my opinion. So, uh, they are redwoods in Alaska. Oh wow, okay. I'm not sure about that, Lonnie. I don't think it was Psycho. Yeah, I'm not sure. So yeah, if you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Uh, Tafwood says, I just saw a video JD Delay did where Wes Watson was claiming the brand. Oh wow. Yeah, Wes Watson needs to tread lightly with that shit. I'll tell you. I'll tell you that much because that's a big claim to make, as you know. You know what I mean, Tapwood. Uh, that's something you like. When I was locked up, never that type of language never even came out of my mouth. Became the character he came up with and identified as a Scarface archetype and is paying for. Yeah, because to be honest with you, Lonnie, at the end of the day, like the last live I did, I talked about honesty and integrity, right? And tonight we're talking a little bit about courage, but we kind of went down this prison rabbit hole a little bit, which is good. It's been a good conversation, you know. But you know, in my opinion, everything comes out in the wash, right? That's why honesty is so important. You know, don't tell a story that isn't true because at some point you're going to get caught up. Uh, yeah. My number one rule inside is you must protect the image that you project. Wes Watson going to have a tough time doing that. Yeah. And I hear them Florida prisons, if he ends up in one of them, sounds like he might have a rough time over there. Because it's not like Cali, you know? It's a different beast, if you will. So, you know, when I was locked up, like I never walked around with my chest puffed out or anything like that. Um, you know, I think the best thing is to let other people speak for you. You know, letting other people speak is the best thing for you. That riot in LA County Jail that I was in with that NLR guy, that followed me almost all the way through, right? Like when I landed in Delano for reception, they knew who I was. And I was kind of mind blown by that one. Um, you know, they said, "Oh yeah, we heard about what you did in LA County Jail with the homie." And I was like, "Wow, okay." You know, and you know, when the guy that had the keys left, he wanted to leave them to me, and I did not want them. I did not want them at all because I'm not a heavyweight politician like that, you know. I did end up in a role there, but I did not have the last say, and I did not want the last say. Um, so, but you know, I think in prison, you know, I've seen it a million times where people, you know, they run their mouth about what a big badass they are, but it all comes out in the wash, you know. It all comes out in the wash, and if you let other people speak for you about who you are, a lot of times that's the best thing. How did they know you were who you were after LA County? Now, with LA County Jail, our reception center was either Delano or I think it was Tehachapi. Might have been Wasco. So basically, everybody that's going to the pen from LA County is going to end up in one of those spots. So apparently, some maybe the NLR guy may have landed up there and told people, "Hey, this guy's coming." I'm not sure, you know, but exactly, Tapwood. If you act like a gangster, your gangster card will get pulled. Count on it. So just be your, yeah, you know, like I mean, if you're going to prison, you know what I would suggest? Just you know, do your workout, mind your damn business, and do. Someone's gonna put you up on game as to what's expected of you. Just do what's expected of you. Keep your ass out of the politics because being a politician is a good way to end up dead. If I'm being perfectly honest, you don't want to play those games, you know. And I'm not saying that it's games, but you don't want to involve yourself in other people's business. You know what I mean? Worry about yourself. What's up, Vic? That's the best thing you could do. And let's, uh, yeah, that's perfect, RW Sims. No drugs, gambling, or punk shit. You'll be fine. Exactly. I hope you're doing well tonight, Vic. I'm doing good, bro. Taffwood says, luckily I did a 3-piece in YA, Chad, and I was laced up by the time I went to the big house. Yeah, all the lacing I got was in LA County Jail. You know what I mean? And like you're constantly learning what what you need to know on the fly. You know what I mean? But I had a pretty good idea of what was expected of me and how to act going into it. Kingdom says if you're gonna stay out of the politics, then you have to stay out of gambling, hustling, and anything else that brings attention. For the most part, yeah, I would agree with that. You know, from what I hear, LA County has all the lacing you need. And same, yeah, yeah. LA County Jail, and I aside from AdSeg, LA County Jail was no, I would say LA County Jail was the most difficult place I ever was. Um, and for the simple reason there aren't a lot of white guys that are stand-up white guys in LA County Jail. And if you are a stand-up white guy, you tend to get put into one of the white modules. So like a skinhead module or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? No, wrong one. I'm trying to give a guy a timeout here, and I almost made him a moderator. That would have been all bad. Instead of a timeout, you can be a mod. Yeah, that was. I think that was before my time. When it comes to that, though, as far as what OG Badger said about what size your shoes are, but yeah, it's a very treacherous place, and if you have stuff of value, you will be tested for it. You know what I mean? Like they stopped. They I've heard stories of LA County from like the '90s. You would go in your clothes, and you know the thing was if they ask you what size your shoes are, they're my size, homie. But and then be ready to fight. You know what I mean? You have to catch any fades when you was in the county? Tons of them. Uh, but like I got jumped a couple of times. I got jumped in a holding cell. These 18th Street guys come in, and you know they're banging on everybody because there's like four of them. Yeah, and you had the wet 40. They called it the wet 40. They would run the money through water, and then you could have $40 in your pocket. And yeah, but yes, in the holding cell, these 18th Street fools come in. Where you from, fool? Where you from, fool? I told him I'm from San Bernardino, and one of them said, "Fuck San Bernardino," and knee jerk reaction was, "Fuck you." From over here, pow! They were on me. They knotted me up pretty good. Uh, Deputy sprayed some pepper spray and pulled me out, and you know they had a nurse come check me out or whatever. I was seeing little birdies, you know. But then the deputy tells me, "All right, I think they moved everybody in that tank to the next tank because of the contamination of the pepper spray." And the deputy told me, "You got two choices, sir." He said, "You can go in the cell with the blacks where you haven't had a problem yet, or you can go back into the cell where you had the problem." And I knew I was heading to prison, and at that point in my life, there was no way I was going in with the blacks. So I said, "Put me back in there." And when they put me back in that cell, those guys, they like kind of gave me that nod, like respect, you know. But that was just one of many. Same with that Flacco guy. I heard he got 15 years. Damn. I hope all is well with OG Badger. I agree, Tapwood. Just to get your, yeah. You know, at that time, processing into LA County Jail was at least a 12-hour event. At least. And then there was one point, I don't know what the hell was going on, but like it took like 3 days. and like they were moving us all over the place. Like that was rough. But those days are over, you know. uh, Kern County Jail is more like a level 3 yard still. Probably comparable, I would imagine, Tapwood. But I think there's probably more white guys in Kern County. You know what, guys? We are like an hour and 20 in. I think we're going to bring this to an end here pretty soon. Absolutely. If there's any tension at all, especially, right, Tapwood? You always got somebody like that. That was one of the weird things, you know, going to use the restroom and having somebody watch point. Time served. Okay, I'm going to check that out. All right, guys, we did like an hour and a half. I'll probably jump back on tomorrow after football or maybe during the late game. We'll see how it goes. But, ultimately, if I were not an addict, I wouldn't have any of these stories about being in prison and what it's like. I hope if you're struggling with addiction, you figure it out before you come up with stories of your own. Because I'll be honest with you, go to the CDCR webpage. There's somebody dying like every week in there. And a lot of times it's at the hands of your own people. So if you're thinking about, going sober, it's a great time to do it. You just got to have the courage to take that first step, right? Find a meeting, find some help, and, don't look at the mountain. Just start climbing. Have a good one, guys. Till next time, I'll see you guys later.